Read. No. No.
I just wanna hold you.
Guys, welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to share my tips and tricks of how I got prepared for the ATI-TEAS test. Those of you guys that don't know what the ATI-TEAS test is, it's basically a standardized test that a lot of universities use just to determine if you have the basic knowledge to complete a degree in nursing. Broken down in 3 sections. It has the math section, reading in English, and then the science section. The test is timed, so you have different times for each section. So for the reading part, you have 53 questions, a total of 64 minutes to complete it. For the math, you have a little less questions. You have 36 questions with 54 minutes to complete that section. And lastly, for the science, you have 53 questions with 63 minutes to complete it. So let's jump into the science section. And the science and biology section for me was the easiest, just because I tend to do well in science, and a lot of my studies back in college involved a lot of chemistry, biology, anatomy, physiology. If you haven't taken an anatomy or biology class recently, I do recommend that you brush upon this information. What I did personally is I would watch a YouTube video of an organ system, and then I would take my notes on a notepad and I would draw a diagram, because I'm very visual. So I would draw the diagram of the organ system if possible, and then I would do note cards. That way I can have them with me and take them with me throughout the day. So I do recommend that you study the overall, an overview of each organ system, and also the most common diseases associated with each organ system. A lot of the questions might be very specific, and at least have an idea of the basic overview of the system, but also go into detail of what each organ does, because you never know what the test is gonna ask. Questions might get as specific as where does gas exchange occur in the body. So that's my biggest takeaway from the science and biology side of the test. So to be honest, I didn't really study for the reading part of it. I did use a lot of best practices that I learned through college. I do recommend that you guys take the time and read through the passages and then read the questions. Skip reading the answers, because that's just gonna take up more time. Try to come up with the answer in your head first before you dive in and the answers provided. More than likely, if you've already come up with the answer in your head and you find an answer that's very similar to what you were thinking, more than likely that's going to be the answer. So that's why I do recommend that you skip over reading the answers right away and try to come up with your best answer in your head and try to match it. A lot of the questions, like I said, are to do with identifying the main idea, identifying supporting facts about the tone of the passage. So a lot of the concepts are very basic, and like I said, I used a lot of the best practices that I learned in my college and applied it on the reading parts I did. Lastly, for the math section. So I haven't had a math course in years. I think the last one that I was required to take was college algebra. I did have to brush up on my math. And again, I don't think the math was very intense. It had a lot of conversions, so definitely review your conversions to convert your fraction to decimals, decimals into percentages. So definitely review conversions, fractions, how to add, divide, multiply fractions. Fractions were word questions that you had to convert into equations, so definitely get familiar with converting word problem to an equation. So also get familiar with reading graphs. If you guys are not familiar, you are provided with a calculator. So worst case scenario, if you guys can't find the answer on your own, you can go ahead and go back to your calculator and plug in every answer that's provided. That's obviously going to take a lot of time, so you don't want to do that for every word problem, but definitely if you find yourself that you can't find the answer, you have that option. So the biggest takeaway from this test and getting prepared for it was to really take your time to review all the material. Like I said, give yourself at least a month or a month and a half to study. Block out time. I remember I would block out maybe 2 hours of my day and focus on the reading section for that the whole week, and then the next week I would focus on the anatomy portion, and then the following week I would focus on the math portion. If you feel like you're lacking in an area, definitely focus on that area first. For me, I felt like I was good on the science portion and the reading portion, so I focused more on the math just to review. Overall, I did well, and it's not a very hard test, especially if you've had the classes recently, such as biology, anatomy, or some sort of math course. The information is fresh in your head. It could be a little bit tougher for those of you guys that haven't had these classes recently, and you might have to invest a little bit more time, but it's totally doable. Like I said, there's tons of resources online. There's tons of videos that you can go over that are free. I do recommend that you invest in a study guide, because you have something to fall back on, and you have something where, you know, it's a kind of like a roadmap and you can follow that. Being in a good study guide and investing in those practice tests, it takes you a long way. So that's gonna conclude this video. I hope that my tips on how I got prepared for the TEAS test were helpful for you guys, and I'll see you guys on the next video.